Right. Hi, everyone. This is James S. Rosine, and we are currently looking at two of my 20 images now on display at Copper Village Museum and Arts Center in Anaconda for my show, A Study in Hyperreality. And you're looking at, on the left, my image, What the Werewolf Sees. Let's take a closer look at what the werewolf sees. That's the single black and white image in this show. I took that at Washoe Park in Anaconda several years ago on a moonlit night and tried to get as much of the trees obscuring the moon as I could. And if you look in real close, you can see all of the etching that came in when I adjusted this shot with some filters in Photoshop, which is what this whole show is about. So rotating along, here's one of the primary pieces of my exhibit. Sorry about the little camera problem there. This is the sole of the stack, and you can see the sole is coming right up out of the stack. And of course, that's not what I took a picture of. It was the moon, but thanks to the miracle of Photoshop, was able to turn it into this brilliant, almost spirit bomb looking thing coming up out of it, and those sparks of life from the stack are just cascading down from it. At least that's my reading anyway. Moving on, we have Winter Wonderland. Now this is a very favorite piece I've noticed amongst people who've seen it. Popular image of the Christmas tree lights at Kennedy Common following the tree lighting ceremony, and this was a few years ago. And if you look in close, you can see that it's got that texture as if it really were taken on film, but of course it wasn't. This is another digital adjustment. Now we have here the next piece on display, a scene that most Anacondans know very well. This, of course, Mount Hagen, which I've dubbed Old Man Hagen. Done so because, well, as you can see, looks like an old man in this shot. It's something I've noticed about that mountain in the wintertime, is it does take on this hoary aspect of an elderly man who's almost watching over the town. Next, we've got a grouping of a few ladies here. This one is an old favorite. Not to say anything other than that, but it is a very well-known image that's won an award. This is Washerwomen. Of course, that is Shirley Budd there in the middle, and she's quite the character, as you can see. I do love the LAOH Washerwomen's Brigade. They always make for a fun photo. And this one, again, I did adjust to give it the appearance of film quality. Moving along, we've got our second grouping of ladies here in action. This is very much in action. These are some of our roller derby folks who did a demonstration here. This is called Queens of the Blacktop, and I tried to make it as much of a pop art piece as I could. I thought that the reds and the blues really jumped out of that image. Now, in a completely different vein here is the first of my sunset pictures. I was almost going to say painting, and I was trying to make this one look a bit like a watercolor. If you can zoom in and see, it's got a bit of that kind of, there we go. Yeah, it's got kind of that texture to it. So this is called Joyful Reflection, and the name, of course, tells exactly where it was located, and that was Lake Joy in Washington. taken from my friend Jason and Michelle's lake house, I should say. Hi, Jason. Hi, Michelle. So the next one is another lake sunset. Very different image, though. This is another one of my well-known pieces. It got an award some years ago that I have since adjusted to really focus on the line here and the horizon and the shape of the sun, the shape of the clouds, and the shape of the water. And this is called Under a Copper Sky, formerly called Red Sky at Night, Fisherman's Delight. And this was Georgetown Lake. Another sunset image here. This one is called Skyfire. I took this up on Mount Carmel Cemetery some years ago during the really amazing sunset that I tried to convert into a watercolor using Photoshop. I thought it did pretty well. It's a little bit dark in the foreground, but I do think that the shape of the trees stand out against the hillside, so hopefully you'll be able to see that. Now our final sunset piece, this is skating at sunset, and you don't see the sun directly, but you can see the effects of the sun, which we have here in the reflection on Kennedy Common when the kids are out ice skating. And I was able to get some texture on that to try to make it an oil painting as much as I could. And I was pretty happy with how that came out. Another attempt at an oil. This is not a sunset, but it's pretty close. We have that vanishing point up there that I really like how that came out. And this vanishing point here is what my friend Doreen, hi Doreen, came up with for the basis of the name of this picture. And this one is called Pathway to Mithridane. It is, of course, not Mithridane, which does not exist, but that's okay because Washoe Park can stand in for it. Mithridane, of course, being the autumn city where the fairies live, the fairies of the autumn court. And I think this pretty well shows autumn in Anaconda. Now, we're getting away from Anaconda for a bit. This one is my other hometown, and it should need no introduction, of course, as we zoom in on the inking on the background here of the Seattle skyline, and of course that is the Space Needle. And this image was shot from Cary Park on Queen Anne Hill. It's one of my favorite views, probably my favorite view in the world, just because of it's where I grew up, and I enjoy seeing all these iconic Seattle images, including, if you can spot it, the flag for the Seattle Sounders. So this one is Cary Park in fog. Now, opposite from fog, we have a very strong image of what is the sun obscured, of course, by the moon. This was a total total solar eclipse that occurred a couple of years ago. And I did name that one Black Hole Sun, which, if you know anything about Soundgarden or the Seattle Sound from back in the 90s, you would recognize that title. So moving along, you know what? Before I go, I should point out that what I attempted to do here was try to get the glow to look as if it was made with pastels, with hard pastels, or possibly colored pencils. So that turned what was an award-winning image of the eclipse into hopefully a piece of art. Now, totally shifting gears here. This is a picture that tells a story, and it's a really neat story that I was privileged to cover 3 or so years ago. The man in the center here, that's Grizz, and he is enacting a soldier, a Marine, I should say, looking for his comrades at the dedication of his Marine Corps Memorial up on Mill Creek. And I really liked how the watercolor turned out in the background. This one is A Place to Rest. I'm gonna shift along to the center pieces here. So this is another Kennedy Common. I do like Kennedy Common in the winter. It's a very photogenic place. This one I shot on the spur of the moment. It is Wish Upon Some Shooting Stars. And of course, those are not shooting stars, those are snowflakes. And the flash on my phone happened to catch that. Now, here's our next piece. This is The Color Out of Space, which gives away what this is a picture of. I'm not going to go into detail about how I accomplished it, but we would only see these colors thanks to Photoshop. This is another famous Anaconda scene here. The band Cherry Cherry has played at Art in the Park numerous times. This was the time I was able to get up and shoot the crowd from behind the singer. And I thought that with as much motion that's going on in that shot, that having it be an impressionist painting would really make it zing. So this one is Cherry Cherry. Now we have another film shot. This is, of course, from the Pintler Polar Plunge at Silver Lake, formerly at Silver Lake, I should say. It was unjustly taken from our community. But this is a very dynamic image of the Golden Plungers from that year. That's the top fundraisers for the Special Olympics. And boy, do they look happy about it. Now, the other remaining shots are just around the corner. Sorry about the jerkiness of the video. This one, I took up Cable Road probably 6 years ago, right at dawn, and hence the title Deer at Dawn. And again, I attempted to get some film quality on this shot, which I think turned out best in the clouds of all places. It still retains the contrast of the black trees there against the shadow, or with the sun just coming up behind them, so you can barely see the light coming up from behind. And then here's our final image. It's a little hard to squeeze through here, sorry. And this is the Bighorn Chew. And he's certainly chewing, both him and his girlfriend's down there. But that is quite the ram that you often see here west of Anaconda, near the Blue-Eyed Nelly, which is where I took this. And with with a function called Crackalure on Photoshop, I was able to get those brush strokes to stand out, I think. So anyway, that's all of them. I'm just going to do a quick rotate here, and we're back to the centerpieces. And anyway, I hope that you will all come down on August 7th. That's Wednesday, August 7th from 6 to 8 to talk with me about what I've shot here and what's on display, and maybe buy a couple pieces. You'll also have another chance to visit with me during the art walk, which will be part of Smelterman's Week. That is Friday, August 9th at 5 p.m. And at any rate, hope you enjoy it and hope to see you there.